an end. And to enhance that, there will be much empowerment or funding to investigative wings that are entitled, that have got the powers to bring the culprits to book. We discussed these matters and, of course, other issues in the course of this program. Allow me to introduce my guest, who is Reverend Moses Lungu, Evangelical Youth Alliance President. He joins me on set. Remember that on Tuesday, Reverend Lungu did petition the Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC, the Financial Intelligence Center, FIC, and of course the British Embassy regarding matters to deal with corruption that already he suspects that certain individuals have already started advancing themselves to swell the fight against corruption. Details will be given later on as we go into this conversation. Reverend, welcome to this assignment program.
Thank you so much, Innocent, and thank you so much to those that are listening to this program. I hope that it will be interesting for them, and together we can strengthen our voice in giving solidarity to the current administration, and more also to provide the checks and balances, because this is our country, and we hope that we can move together in ensuring that we develop Zambia to become the Zambia that is expected of every one of us, even the generations that are behind us. Yes.
What kind of a Zambia should we expect now under the new Dawn administration, looking at where we're coming from, an environment which was full of drama? When I say drama, I mean a lot of accusations to deal with corruption issues, where we could sometimes we could see even cadres of the former ruling party, dancing or swimming around with money, and Bali saying, "Here I come now to bring all this kind of lawlessness to an end." What kind of a Zambia should we expect under the new Dawn administration, from your own understanding as governance expert?
Well, as a youth worker, I think I've worked with young people for almost over 21 years now, and there is a lot of expectation from young people. Expectation from this particular government on how they're going to address the issues that were quite worrisome, and these are issues of corruption. Corruption, actually people had become extremely familiar with our system, the systems of governance, so much that to a certain extent, I don't know how many people had the conscience of the fact that we had the head of state in the country, so that they could not do certain things that they were doing. And by virtue of the fact that we are now in the new administration, it has actually given us, it has posed a number of things that were getting out of hand. I think the reason for that is the familiarity that our leaders had become too familiar with the people of Zambia. To a certain extent, they took the Zambian for granted. We had a situation where, like you said, you pointed it out, cadres, those that are zealously supporting the political parties, could actually overlook certain norms that were very critical in the governance of this country, could overlook also the aspect of law abiding. Corruption actually was being accepted now as a normal thing. I think a lot of things were slowly getting out of hand. There was an expectation that maybe if the former president was given another chance to rule, he would address those problems. But again, that was a certain number of citizens who were thinking like that. But the majority of the people realized that we were not going anywhere with that kind of a situation. So they opted to change government. And since this government has come into power, there is a pause. A lot of people who could have actually been misbehaving, they are somehow cautious. They don't know what Barry's move, the next move will be. Either it is on them or anybody. I think we needed this kind of a scenario where people are afraid when they are entrusted with responsibilities to govern on behalf of the people. They should respect the people and they should not take anything for granted. I think there isn't much that has been happening, but we can see that Barry's attitude, the president's attitude so far, does not allow anybody to be too familiar with him so that they can go about doing anything they feel like anyhow. You know, people are now being cautious. Those that have been fired have gone. Those that are there, they don't know, am I the next person to go? I think this is good for the country. The first impression is very far, so far promising, that things are going to be better. Yes.
From your side as well, as governance experts or activists, you know, we saw some kind of, you know, divisions amongst yourselves as well, more especially in the previous administration, whereby there was a clique of individuals, you know, which was perceived to be a pro-government at the time, you know, a pro-PF, you know, the other grouping again was perceived or accused of aligning itself to the now government, the UPND. What do you think causes all that kind of, I know, a breakdown in terms of offering checks and balances amongst you, the governance experts? I ask this question once again because remember, there was a time whereby even when things are wrong, which were being committed by the previous administration, you just hear this voice, it comes out and just appreciate the government of the day. You know, instead of just pointing out or be blunt on issues that matters most to the populace or the general citizen.
That is very true, Innocent, that such things were happening. And I want also to say, Innocent, that divisions are necessary in a democracy. Right. We cannot have a uniform of thought or monopoly of thinking because we are church people or civil society and so forth. You find that others will be for, and of course the other group will be against. So it depends on the angle at which you are looking at things, and also your area of interest. For instance, you can have a crisis in the country where maybe there is an issue, a challenging issue, for instance, of homosexuality. Others may not have a problem, despite being religious organizations, they may not have problems with that because they have their own reasons. And others, you know, would come out with a dogmatic attitude who wants to pull their way of thinking. But others would be conservative, but would accommodate, you know, such things when they are happening. So in a democracy, you don't expect that people are going to be one-sided. You expect that people will be free. According to our constitution, they will enjoy their freedom of association, the freedom of speech, and so forth and so on. It's just that our democracy is young and we are growing, so sometimes the levels of tolerance are just minimal. They don't meet the required international standards. Remember that we are part of the universe. We are part of the global society. So there are certain trends that are actually taking over our society, and then as people, we are bound to take what you can. If I feel that this particular government is doing fine, I'll belong to that particular government. If I feel that this government is not doing fine, I'll belong to a group that will be opposing everything that you hear about government. But again, we just need to be objective, as we contribute to the well-being of our society. We cannot build our society with one particular view. There will be diverse views that will come on board, and those give us a critical moment so that we can analyze the situation and then prioritize critically the issues that will positively go down well with our society. It's very difficult to satisfy a society that has conflicting expectations. However, the basics must be maintained. The basic rules must be observed by either the players or those that are opposed to the ones that are providing the governance of a nation. One of the very important programs that we've had as a country, which probably the previous administration overlooked, was a program which was introduced by the African Union, which is called the APRM, the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, which provides a country to actually do the self-introspection as they listen to people. This particular program is housed at the Ministry of Justice, that they are able to go to all the ministries and then look at the performance of governance. And I think Zambia had devised 4 thematic areas in which they were trying to do their general introspection so that they are answerable to the African Union body, so that we can build these trends that will create a bond among many African countries, 52 or 53 African countries, so that we don't have a country that is killing people here and another country that is allowing people to do wrong things, but whatever they allow to happen, it must be uniform in upholding the human rights, in upholding the rule of law, in upholding things that are very critical as you govern the people. So I think that one was overlooked at some point, because if we followed strictly and religiously that particular program, it could have been easier for government to know where they were lagging behind or where they were straying, you know, in their quest to provide good leadership to the people. So they are human beings. They are bound to make mistakes. They may have made several mistakes, but again, we don't have a situation where one person can perpetually make all the mistakes. I think there will be 1 or 2 good things which they did, but generally, the Zambian gave a verdict on the 12th August against that administration that they were not impressed, and they decided that they should move them out, and they moved them out. We have the new administration now, and they are trying to look at things. There is one friend of mine who has actually given me an assurance that give the church time, and you realize that even the issues of tribalism are not associated with him. And people who are expecting him to move along that corridor will be very disappointed, because they will realize that he's a man who is more focused on ensuring that the country is well managed, resources are in the country, and people get what they deserve. Those that work hard, they get what they deserve. We are all looking forward to him actually delivering to the expectations of our people.
All right. Reverend, I want us to subsidize. Subsidize this discussion with a clip. Of course, I remember that on Tuesday you did petition the SSC as well as FIC and other officers with regards to what you suspect that already the corruption has already started germinating under the new Dawn administration. And of course, on behalf of the people of Zambia, they want to get more details regarding to that effect. So I hope my director is ready for that clip. If you are not, let me just squeeze in a few questions before we get into the clip. Now, coming to the budget here, under good governance by the new Dawn administration, which was presented by Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane on page 29, like I did mention, paragraph 134. In which he said government wants to create a good governance environment in which the conduct of public affairs is done in a responsible, accountable, and transparent manner. This is in this commitment, this is actually the commitment of the new Dawn administration. Now, the other priorities in this regard will be to fight against corruption. And in fighting corruption, Reverend, here, the new Dawn administration is promising to strengthen the rule of law and ensure a sound public financial management. That's what the issue is here. Do you think that in the previous administration, all these things were not there? We had a lot of sentiments coming from President Lungu at the time he was in government, and other ministers that ECL was actually equal to the task, in terms of fighting corruption. But here comes in that they want to strengthen the rule of law and also ensure that they equip or they give much ammunitions to these institutions of governance. Do you think there's been some lapses in terms of where we come from and where we are today?
Yes, when we talk about where we are coming from, there's been a lot of lapses in that the institutions that are entrusted with the responsibility of fighting corruption and money laundering and other vices that are detrimental to development were underfunded. Now, when you underfunded such institutions like the SEC, the Drug Enforcement Commission, and the police itself, you expect that you are instigating a serious security compromise. And once that is done, people will begin to do things anyhow. I wonder why we have had a situation where people could actually try to sneak away with colossal sums of money, depriving our banking system, which affects subsequently the economic performance of our country. So we've had from Parliament the Public Accounts Committee, which tries actually to hold everybody accountable. But even that one, if it was not adequately funded, you don't fund that one, and then you have a lady in a house who is keeping 65 million kwacha and $57,000, then that is a serious lapse on the part of governance. It means that somehow, somewhere, things are not correct, things are not right. So, yes, President Lungu tried by all means to fight corruption, but again, it's not something you can achieve overnight or one day, even over a period of 10 years. It was not possible because at some point his efforts were being undermined by people that had surrounded him. This I say from the cases that were in public domain, that some of the ministers were cornered at some point, invited for questioning at some of these institutions that are mandated to actually provide accountability on how public funds are utilized or put to good use. So you find that that was an indication that the people that had surrounded the president were undermining the president's efforts and his pronouncements. Because when the president is making a pronouncement, it becomes a policy matter. Now, if you have effective permanent secretaries, they will make sure that according to where that pronouncement falls, they will institute a policy and make sure they will follow it religiously so that, we don't subject the president's office or that institution to ridicule or to incompetence or to underperforming. So this is the work of, permanent secretaries who are proactive. But because people had become too familiar with the system, too familiar with the occupant of that office, they took things for granted. Hence, things now, to a certain extent, got out of hand. That's where you could see cadres flashing out of money, and somebody with no track record of doing business, you find that suddenly they have acquired this expensive vehicle and so forth. I think where such things are happening, then just know that there is a weakness somewhere, there is a compromise somewhere. So the president's pronouncements are not enough if the people that surround you have a different agenda altogether, or they are doing things to the contrary. I think that was a painful experience for the previous president. And I hope that the current president will not allow such a thing to happen. When people become too familiar with you, they will undermine you. They will undermine your efforts. And the things they'll be doing outside will shock you when you come to hear about them.
I want to believe that, Reverend, it's not really the issue of maybe someone being undermined, the president being surrounded by wrong people, you know, because you are the head of state. Moreover, you can fire someone at any time. You can, you know, hire people whenever you feel like, you know. So why should the surrounding issue comes in? You've just mentioned that, for example, that Bali is at a point where people are not really familiar with him. You know, those that are with him, they do not know who Bali is. Anytime he can strike at them, you know, and you've just mentioned that that's the kind of leadership that we anticipate as a country. Would you say that maybe possibly Israel was a weak man compared to Bali?
Well, Israel could have been a very considerate person, but again, in these systems, there are bureaucracies. Yep. You can't just take information to the president anyhow. So our bureaucracies work against our heads of state because, you know, something can happen now, and by the time the president gets wind of it, if you, the media, don't come in, the president may not even have an idea that something somewhere is happening. That's why the voice of the media must be respected, encouraged, and strengthened. And the media itself should live to its good reputation in being responsible and not traitors, so that their information is very correct and accurate. They need to investigate stuff before they can even give it to the public for consumption. Yeah. Because once the public realize that there is a lot of inconsistencies with the media, they lose the confidence. So it confuses everybody. Even the president gets confused. He doesn't know who to believe. Is the system giving him accurate information on a particular matter or not? There is the aspect of bureaucracy which works against the heads of state. Right. So if the head of state is not very proactive, is not choosing or creating variety of channels that can give him information that is required, then it becomes very, very difficult for the head of state. So I wouldn't say that President Lungu was weak, but I realized that in the governance systems, the issues of bureaucracies make it very difficult sometimes that we may look at the president to be very weak or taking long to react to a certain situation. And the president, again, I remember during the time of President Mwanawasa, you know, he could hear something and immediately is going to act. Yeah. Then it came to a point where some people were very crafty that they could give wrong information, and before you know it, the president is reacting to something which is not correct. So that also was creating a very difficult situation for the presidency. So this is why you find that the president will have more than one or two channels of verifying information, whatever information that is reaching his desk, to avoid embarrassing himself and embarrassing the nation. So there are just some shrewd people around who will always try and take advantage of the situation. But I want to tell you that the president that is there is a no-nonsense person. You can accuse him of anything, but we believe that once he gets the correct information, he's going to react on it. Right. Yeah, he's going to react on it. And, we need to have people that can work in the interest of all Zambians. Right. I've heard people that are raising unnecessary issues of tribalism and so forth. I think when you have had your time, allow another person to take his time in doing what he believes can work for the Zambian people. Unlike a situation where time and again, whenever they turn to the left, you want to accuse them of this and that. I think we are giving the outside world a very bad picture of who we are as Zambians. We look like we are not serious. I think what we need with the current administration, we need to give them time. When we give them time, where we can help them. It's their first time to rule a country. It's not a political party. It has so many challenges. There are so many issues that they will discover, which are not even necessary to even talk about. Like the issue at hand where the president made a pronouncement at the airport.
Yeah.
That is a public announcement. In a public announcement, only the guilty gets afraid. I was not there in 1964.
Yeah.
And that announcement does not affect me in any way. But if you were there in 1964, then you realize that you did something which is very wrong, which has affected, because some of the problems that we have now were not committed yesterday. Were committed way back in 1964. So the president knows what he is talking about. And it's not for us, because we've heard the president talk about that one. Now we want to begin now to put blame on individuals that he has not mentioned. For instance, there is a story that is trending in the social media where they've cited all the presidents from KK. They've left out Nkumbula, they've left out Skotawina, they've left out Brennan Mwanga for some reasons best known to themselves. Now we are trying to politic over a very serious announcement. It's very important as Zambians to acknowledge that we have made mistakes. This is why we are where we are. Somebody did not take his responsibility. And coming to the statement of the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Finance is a seasoned person. I remember the Minister of Finance during the time of the Mwanawasa, the MMD administration. Is a man with vast experience. He's very intelligent. He's intellectually alert to a lot of issues that can help our country move forward. He's a sober man. We cannot take away that from him. And making such pronouncements, he knows that those three areas are very critical. We need to be responsible. We need to be accountable. We need to prudently manage our resources within our means and on issues that are very critical. I think there is nothing wrong with that. But the only word I can say to the minister is that he needs, if he wants a successful fight against money laundering, which has become an issue, we don't want Zambia to be a criminal state, he must fund the Drug Enforcement Commission adequately. He must fund the Anti-Corruption Commission adequately. He must also fund the police, the police intelligence adequately, because people will be willing to volunteer information. Sometimes those whistleblowers, they have to be remunerated. They have to be remunerated for good reasons. One, they need to protect themselves. They need to be in a safer place where they are not attacked by the perpetrators of ills that have affected our country. It's the more reason, once we do that, then everybody will be afraid to do any kind of misdemeanor. They will be responsible. They will be accountable. And for the very first time, the Auditor General's report will be very different from what we have had of misapplication of funds and so on and so forth. We can avoid that song when we do the correct thing. The correct thing is to make sure that we adequately fund these 3 or 4 institutions so that the fight against corruption can be a success.
All right, Reverend, as you take a breather, let me just call for a clip so that we subsidize our discussion regarding the corruption issues that you've already started exposing, more especially in the mining sector. Director, please give us the clip.
And the Anti-Corruption Commission over the dubious mining activities taking place currently in the north-western part of Zambia. There is a lot of exploration of mining, and these companies are listed on the London Stock of Exchange. and they are making colossal sums of money, and they are not returning that money into the country so that they can do the actual mining, which will benefit the communities and the chiefdoms. So we've decided to take this route to help the New Dawn administration in ensuring that they actualize their budget. Their budget is enormous. If they are not helped, that budget will be a white elephant. If they allow people to continue stealing with impunity, and if the former workers at the Ministry of Mines are not brought to book to account for all the misdemeanors relating to mining activities, then we'll continue as a nation to lose colossal sums of money. So it will be a pipe dream just to think of recruiting 30,000 teachers and 11,000 health workers. So as civil society organizations, we hope that the British High Commissioner will look into the matter and arrest the situation so that there is no crime happening from our soils here and reaching the people out there in the so-called developed countries. So we look forward that our address will receive the desirable attention from appropriate authorities.
All right, Reverend, give us more details regarding this story. Of course, you know, it seems to be a very interesting story to follow because already looking at the institutions where you went to drop your petition, the SEC, as well as FIC, as well as the British, you know, High Commission. What kind of a story is this? What's behind this story? And which are those companies you've named in the petition?
Well, the names of the companies, we've mentioned them, and we've given actually the crew. First, maybe let me explain why we've involved the British High Commissioner, because these activities are happening right in London, depriving the Zambian people who have actually, in good faith, issued licenses of exploration to these companies. Now, these companies are co-joined by some Zambians and some Britons, people from Britain, because for the company to be listed on the London Stock Exchange, it means that there are serious people that are involved with this kind of a thing. Now, what these guys do, we've allowed the anti-corruption to actually do their investigations. We've given them all the necessary and sufficient details to that effect. And maybe I wouldn't want to preempt what we've given them, but generally it's actually talking about the activities from the Ministry of Mines, and from the Ministry of Mines you go to the actual mining itself, mining activities, and then you find that in the exploration these guys are just drilling and making profiles. After they drill, they make profiles, and then they take the report to London Stock Exchange, where they begin to sell the shares, and you find that within a single month they raise something colossal to £300 million. Now you expect that with the holes that they are digging here, and they've certain obligations according to the Mining Act, which they are supposed to follow, but with impunity they've abrogated their responsibilities. All they are doing is to make such monies out there, and this money does not come to Zambia. So you find that even when they are given a license for instance, 4 years, in the 4 years, if they are doing exploration, they are doing a lot of damage to the ecosystem of our country. And then you realize that they don't, again, do the needful by ensuring that the money they've made there, they bring it back so that they can involve into the actual mining. And according to the rules in the mining sector is that after 4 years, if they are given, say, for instance, an hectare of 1,000 hectareage, that has to be cut by 50% after the 4 years. If they want to do the extension of that, then it cannot exceed more than 10 years. So they'll be given another 3 years or so, but they will have to relinquish the 5 years. The 50%. But what these guys do, instead of relinquishing the 50%, they will not do that. They will go again to register another company and do the application, and how the Ministry of Mines were considering them, but you find that when you check the records at the PACRA, they are the same shareholders. You know, they are the same shareholders, but different names. So they will continue with that 50% which they are supposed to give up for others to actually do the exploration and probably do the serious mining. But that was not being done. And then circumstances under which the Minister of Mine was allowing such activities, knowing very well that the shareholding of these particular companies, it plays the same individuals. That is what we want to understand if it is not corruption. Because the people in the Northwest, before we begin to experience the issues of earthquakes and tremors, because we are digging holes, we are disturbing the whole ecosystem, you know, we need to have the benefit to our local people. Government, it depends on the mining sector itself. I don't know why after we exposed this, there is an organization that deals with extractive mining. They've been actually having the Indabas on the same, where they wanted to take audit of the activities and what we are mining from Zambia and how much this is translating in terms of improving the living conditions of our people. So this thing is not happening in Northwestern Province. You find that people are in dire poverty. They live below the poverty levels. And in a country which is making so much money, so much millions in London. And then it is hypocritical if the British embassy cannot come and address this issue. First, they should help us to actually identify those companies. If we have lied that they are not existing in London Stock Exchange, and then after that they should actually tell us that we are lying when we talk about the registration of individuals that hold shares in these companies that we have listed before them. And some of the reports that were issued in some of the tabloids on the international market regarding what activities are happening in Northwestern Province. Now, when you go to Northwestern Province, we have a good president who has demonstrated a goodwill to make sure that the monies that we make in this country is meant to improve the living conditions of the Zambian people. That is a very positive statement, and we need to encourage that one. How do we encourage that one? When we identify malpractices in the mining activities, which is pivotal to holding our country economically together, we need actually to be responsible enough. And, you know, I may not have access. If I go to State House, they will tell me that, oh, this is a PF guy has been supporting the PF and so forth. But if I come to the media like this, I'm sure one or two people who means well for this country will get the information and then pass it on to the president, so that really we want to see a situation where the new Dawn administration does not fail, but they need to actualize their vision and passion to improve the living conditions of our people. There are a few individuals that are benefiting from these activities and from the companies that have been listed, and those individuals must be brought to book. They must be held accountable. These are people, you know, when the president is talking about something, he's not joking. There are certain individuals in this country that have not meant well for the general population of our country. This is why we continue to look like we are very poor. Zambia is not supposed to be where it is if all of us were responsible. And, you know, you can imagine the monies that is being raised would pay bursaries for our our students. We have just a number of, a small number of pharmacists, a small number of students that have done the studies in critical sciences. Why Zambia can't do that, why we can't do much research that is required, it's because we don't have money. This is why we could not even believe when the minister presented a 173 million kwacha budget. Is it 173 million kwacha budget?
Yeah.
We feel it's too much. It's not too much. There are a lot of people that, that can help, and especially that we've had a fortunate development in terms of infrastructure development. We need also to allow this administration to recruit more young people, both locally and abroad, in different intellectual disciplines, so that when you are sick, mister, we don't rush you to South Africa. You can have your medical attention right within our country. I think to realize this, we just need to be responsible, to be fearless. I know that this has attracted a lot of threats on my life, and I don't care if somebody thinks they can shut this evil, they can shut up this passion by guarding me down. If that is what the price that I will have to pay, I'm ready to pay that price. But it's very important that the security wing move in quickly, confirm with the investigations over the information that we've given to them, and put a stop, like the way they've done it to Kasenseri gold mining. They put a stop and then create a system that will ensure that whatever gold that is being mined there is mined, and the monies are being raised to help the local people. You are a leader of the Zambian people. Therefore, you must have the passion. It should hurt you that people are suffering. Young people are on the street doing nothing when there is so much that they can do. When you go to Copperbelt, there is, in those days we used to have Scoto, which employed a good number of young people, Blackwood Lodge, and so forth. These companies were here locally. They were producing things locally, like Pigot Mask, which things were supplied to the mines, and the money was here. It was easy to go to the bank and get a loan and so forth. But we have a situation where these guys are siphoning whatever resources and keep it in London. And meanwhile, our people are suffering here. And yet we have a president who has demonstrated the political will that this is what I want to do. This is why he should not make a mistake like the previous administration of being surrounded by people who are not honest, people who are not sincere with you, who would actually go about doing all sorts of wrong things, because at the end of the day, Lambas say, Insoke ya sumine, wina ubu apelele. You know, a snake, when it gets into a hole, and then it realizes that it can't go any further, it will actually put a defense and try to strike back so that it can save itself. So when you see people behave the way they behaved on the 12th August, they realize that there was nowhere else we can go but just to remove this administration, replace it with new people who will be able to save the interest of the Zambian people. And I remember Honorable Gary Nkombo, at some point he said in one of the interviews that the enemies number one that the PF had were the people, not the UPND. And for sure we saw the rage and the anger of the people when they came together there to vote them out. So we want to see that this new Dawn administration, they actualize their passion for the Zambian people by arresting such situations and put an end to such misdemeanor in the mining sector, because that is pivotal. That's where a lot of money is being raised. We've given this information to ACC, we've given this information to Financial Intelligence Center, and we've given it to the British High Commissioner to Zambia to actually look at these facts and make sure that a situation is addressed so that Zambia and the wealth from the mining sector is meant to improve the living conditions of our people. Young people should rise. The organization that is doing the extractive mining, they should look into this and make follow-ups. What is this that is happening, and put a stop to it. Because if we become irresponsible, then Zambia is doomed. We will perpetually be in poverty. Even the generations to come, they will be in poverty. Zambia has a lot of money. There is a lot of money in this country. We can't have women dying before reaching a health center. We can't have women dying, mothers dying, before reaching the maternity ward. That is very unfortunate. That's a gross irresponsibility on the part of those that are entrusted with responsibilities to look after the affairs or the welfare of the Zambian people. I think it's very, very important that seriously, SEC will not play it down. Let them bring the culprits to book. We will soon be making follow-ups over these matters because threats are already coming on us. And we have seen that the new Dawn administration means well. And we will stand with them. One of the things somebody was actually saying to me, insulting me actually, was that, no, you are like a chameleon. You want to turn every time there is this particular administration. I think it's failure to understand what is my role and who I am. I'm actually very objective and seeking to supplement every effort of government, and it's a biblical mandate to support government of the day and to make sure that we have our boundaries. I will not go there and tell President HH that, no, President, do this, or kukunshima for these people. No. My role is just to alert the President where I see crime happening. My role is to help the government mobilize the resources as a church and then intervene in areas where there are such needs. You know, you have needs for a health center. We interact with our friends from overseas so that we can mobilize, they can help us mobilize resources. We've actually been doing this and helping even young people that are coming from vulnerable households to go and finish their education without government bursaries. We have done it to so many young people, but we don't talk about it. Right. We don't even want to expose.
A few questions, Reverend, in terms of the illegalities that we've talked about. At what point or when did you discover these illegalities happening, you know, in the mining sector? I ask this question, reason being that I'm aware that, you know, Northwestern has been on the map for quite some time now. You remember the Kasenseli gold mine issue in which some people were actually suspended. We saw some police officers or police commissioners at the time being transferred, others being fired because of the mining issues or saga which was happening in the Northwestern. At what point did you discover these illegalities happening? That's my first question. My second question is, when you discovered these matters, did you engage in possibly even the Minister of Mines at this moment now that we're in the new government? You know, is Honorable or Minister Paul Kabuswe aware about these matters before you petition the SEC, the FIC, and also the British High Commission?
Well, there is, to answer that question, first and foremost is we've actually had this for the last 7 years, right, and we tried to bring it to the attention of the appropriate authorities. These are not new issues to us, and we're not talking about them because we want to embarrass the new Dawn administration. No, we are doing this because the new Dawn allows a situation where you can talk about such things and they will not send thieves to your house to come and beat you up. So one of the good things that we are enjoying in the new Dawn administration is the freedom of expression. especially if your freedom of expression is responsible enough, talking about issues that affect the nation. I think at some point the previous administration had taken a lot of things for granted, like I said or alluded to earlier on. They became too familiar with the system so much that certain information was not of value to them. If this information was seriously taken by the then government, I think the issue could have been different probably, because the people of Northwestern Province were going to be happy in ensuring that the people that are doing mining activities there are held responsible, and they are Zambians. See, we had a situation where one of the mining areas there, they don't allow any Zambians to be there or at their mess. You can't buy not even a coke. You can't even step there. And the people that were manning that point were Zambians who would not allow a Zambian to check what activities are happening there. And I'm sure because they realized that maybe there was a weakness or some lapse in the leadership, so they could do such things to the Zambian people. And I don't think that that can happen to the current administration. Yes, we are on course trying to engage the minister in charge of mines and give him all the detailed information regarding the same, and see how best we can help. It is their program, because people have given them the mandate. They've elected them into the office so that they can deliver. And they want to deliver and ensure that the plight of young people is adequately addressed. So it's for their own good. I'm not here to embarrass the new Dawn administration, but this is just the time that an opportunity such as this one has been accorded to me, and this is what I can talk about. Right. And I'm not afraid of talking about this. I think within the system they know that we have had diplomatic engagements over so many issues of abuse, issues to do with so many things, coming from the church background. Yeah. This is why even in the now, we will not take pride in trying to embarrass the president over his remarks at the airport. But we do know that the guilty are always afraid, and I think that issue should tone down, because only the guilty should labor to respond to the president's pronouncement. I'm not speaking this as a government spokesperson, but because everybody's talking about it, I'm Zambian, and I can talk about it as well. I'm not talking about it as UPND, or somebody maybe misconstruing my remarks that I want to find some favor with UPND. No, that's not my motive. Right. My motive is to have a situation that will address the plight of young people that are in the northwestern part of Zambia, that are in the western part of Zambia, that are struggling with education, young people that have gone to college and cannot find work, young people that want to do social work and can't find any space, either at the hospital or in schools. But when the government has got so much money, there will be so much liquid cash available to make every man do their errands to actually support the government.
We are going to close with that question regarding the statement of Bali Wallace at the airport. I know it's one critical issue that has, caused a lot of, debates as we speak right now. But before that, still on the fight against corruption, the New Dawn government has emphasized much to ensure that they fund these institutions in order for them to execute their duties. Now, I want to get you understanding the issue of funding or resource or financing versus competence. There are two things here that needs to be well explained. You can be funding institutions whose personnel is incompetent, for lack of better words, if you wish. Do you think that these institutions really are going to help the country to move forward? You've heard already people are saying or advocating for the cutthroats of those people that are in the SEC as well as Drug Enforcement Commission, and some changes possibly in the police as well, to ensure that the corruption is fought to the end. So you can have a government here which is sounding so promising to funding these institutions, but if the people that are involved in investigating these matters are not up to date, then trust me, this fight is going to be a fallacy. Don't you think so?
I can assure you that Drug Enforcement Commission has got one of the best and competent guys that can actually effectively do result-oriented investigations to impress everybody.
Right.
The only challenge that is there is funding. For instance, if government is paying you 4,000 kwacha, and then you come across a laundered money of about 400 million, and then this guy tells you he's going to give you the 100 million, just forget about it. And then this Drug Enforcement Commission officer will be thinking like, okay, this 1 million kwacha is my pension. If I stayed in government all my years, and if I take this disclosure to government, they'll only give me a 1,500 kwacha. I think that is very demoralizing, and it makes people look like they are not competent to do their work. Sometimes they are just tempted beyond their strength. And the same people, because they are very shrewd, they'll whistle blow on officers that are supposed to be doing that work. This is why funding adequately these institutions is the best. I don't know much about the Anti-Corruption Commission, but what I can assure you is it's a challenge. You have a corruption involving 50,000 kwacha, and meanwhile you know that the only money, if you win that case in the courts of law, you only get, you won't get the promotion, you only get a 1,500 kwacha. So the temptation there, it's quite high. I know of some people, one of the best guys who can do good job in money laundering. There is a lot of money laundering in the country right now. There's a lot of dirty money, exchanging hands in our country right now. But one of the best investigator is selling tea at Soweto Market. He's been humiliated because of these cartels, and sometimes they want to make you dirty. But he is a very strong character, a very strong-willed person. He's selling tea at Soweto Market. So if government is serious to fight the corruption that is rampant in our country, this has nothing to do with the new dawn, because some of the corrupt practices have actually been longer than 17 years, than 20 years, than 50 years. So you really need to have a very serious system to motivate the workforce. Motivate the workforce, secure their jobs, make sure that, I've had a situation of friends in the police who have done very successful investigations and arrests. When government changes, they become victims of whatever good they did in the interest of the country. I think that is also affecting the people that we may be calling they are not competent. But I want to tell you, all the guys from SEC, from the police, from Drug Enforcement Commission, they can do a better job. They are good guys. Besides that, we have even the military intelligence who do very, very well. So the only challenge is the political will. Right. If the political will is maintained by the current administration, then just believe me that Zambia is headed for a better destination. Our young people find job. There'll be medicine in hospitals. How do you take a situation where some people were supplying air at the Ministry of Health and were given colossal sums of money for not supplying anything? And now if you take people to go and investigate that one, it's a challenge. So government should devise a mechanism to motivate and to appreciate both the whistleblower and also the security officers, and to protect them that even if government was to change, they will not be harassed or persecuted by the same systems. I think loyalty and the patronage have actually to a certain extent spoiled what should be good for this country. People should be responsible, should be patriotic enough to do any good for Mother Zambia. And talking about the pronouncement by the president at the airport, I think it's very, very important. It's very, very important to understand that let's not quote the president out of context.
What did he mean? I think let me now ask a question, because you are tempted to bring that subject without a guidance from me in terms of the question based on that subject. Does the president really needs to apologize or to retract that statement, or do we need, because already there are some, there's a threat coming from President Sean Tembo, who has given the president a 7 days ultimatum in which he should publicly apologize to the nation over that statement, failure to which he is going to take up the matter to the Constitutional Court for possibly maybe interpretation. Does that statement really needs us to go as far as the Court to begin to refine or to redefine what he meant by a clique of thieves that have been fending off public resources from 1964 until now? How can you simplify that language?
Well, talking about Sean Tembo, I'm sure is exposing his shallowness over the matter. If you demand an apology from the president should apologize to who?
To the nation, according to him.
That what? That what? The president is stating the facts that this country has been deprived. Who doesn't know that we've had cases of money laundering in this country? Some of the people have even gone to prison. Which administration, even during Kaunda, never had a situation where they had to fire ministers? Which president, even President Rupia Banda, he had to fire some ministers for their misconduct because of embezzlement? How many people have appeared in court over this period of time from 1964? And you see, as the nation has been growing, yes, people create or form cartels. And those cartels, they give themselves advantage over a government system. These things are very, very common. They are all over. In South Africa, they've a Zondo Commission, which is trying to deal with the issue of state capture. It's such crimes that are committed in the nation. Now, is Sean Tembo trying to tell or fool everybody that we haven't had this kind of problems from 1964? Why do we have a situation where a dollar which was 1-to-1 with kwacha, suddenly it is now 17 kwacha against $1? So we've had all these problems. There are people that have made mistakes. There are people that have committed crimes. Some people went even to prison. They committed those crimes. And if the president is referring to that, you just need to bring all the newspapers and then confirm the pronouncements that surely Zambia has suffered some of these criminal activities from 1964. You can't tell me that we've never had a situation where man has been robbed from government or man has been misapplied. So being in an opposition, we need to be very constructive and objective. When
the UNIP as well, you remember there's a delegation from UNIP that issued a statement today, actually, were equally demanding for an apology from the head of state. So I can see that this story for me, it keeps on building up.
Now, if I can ask those from UNIP, that they never had any record that they fired people because they stole. They fired people because they embezzled money. They fired people because of certain wrong things that were done, and the President Kaunda was not pleased about. So,
and why the anger? Where's the anger coming from?
With the anger, President HH did not talk about KK. He did not talk about Mwanawasa. Mwanawasa was busy in the office trying to fight criminals, who ended up threatening his life. These issues, let's not allow anybody
Those are your closing remarks. We have to go.
We shouldn't allow some characters to overshadow these things. These are problems that we've had. And let's find ways to address these problems so that they don't repeat. We don't need cartels that will be involved in criminal activities and they go unpunished. Those cartels are very much around. They are very much there. And if the president is talking about them, he knows what he's talking about them. We shouldn't just create unnecessary pressure on the president. But there are government systems, there are police, there is anti-corruption, there is drug enforcement, there is FIC today, who are going to look into these issues. If you want to know who is who, maybe the question should be, can the president allow the nation to know who the culprits have been? But the fact is there, if you have been reading the newspapers, that criminals have been there in this country, and they've contributed, they've led this country to where it is today.
Reverend, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for according me this opportunity, and thank you so much, viewers. And this is a very humbling gesture for me, and I wish that together we can join hands, especially the young people, be in the forefront, get involved, get to know what government operative systems are, so that you can find your place and be able to contribute to the well-being of the nation.
Thank you so much. I've been hosting Reverend Moses Lungu, President of the Evangelical Youth Alliance. Thank you so much. I'm your host, Innocent Piri. You can simply call me IP. Allow me to appreciate you, the people of Zambia, as well as my producer, Mavuto Piri. Thank you so much. May God bless Zambia. May God bless Mother Africa. Good night.
God rise!